lonely, old, and lonely. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I talk a lot about a lot of different topics, and sometimes I get more caught up into one topic than I do another for a period of time. And so here lately, I've been talking a lot about old age again because, well, I'm pushing 70, as many of you know. And so I talk a lot about that because, well, I don't consider myself old by any means and hope I never get old. I may be chronologically old, but I think of myself as being young forever. And I think a lot of aging has to do with our attitude. And we can stay young when we think young and our attitude is young. So forever 30 for me, okay? So here lately, I've been talking to a number of different people in my age group, okay? And a lot of them are dealing with a lot of different issues. Not all, but a lot of them. And some are my age, some are quite a bit older than me, all have their mind, all have their marbles, so to speak, as grandma would say. And yet they're dealing with all kinds of issues. And one of the biggest issues that I have found is loneliness for a lot of older people. Maybe for some, they never had any children and their spouse died or they got divorced. Maybe they moved to a new area and didn't know anybody, and maybe they moved across the country to be with their kids, and then their kids moved away, or their kids don't pay a lot of attention to them. Maybe, their kids moved away and they stayed, and now they're lonely. So there's a lot of different scenarios why someone can be lonely. And loneliness doesn't just happen with older people. It can happen at any age. People can feel lonely. They can feel like they don't have a support network. The people that I've talked to that are older have felt like they don't have a support network. They don't have people to call on when they need someone. If they go to the hospital, they don't have anyone there to advocate for them, which is so, so important. I've done a lot of videos about advocacy, the importance of advocacy, having advocates in place for you, for yourself, before you ever need them. And recently I decided to create my own little in-person advocacy group. It's not where we, take meals to each other or anything like that, but we're just there as emotional support for really any kind of crisis that can come about. And it's just kind of an informal support group of people that are just there for each other. And anybody can build one of their own wherever they're at. And it's amazing how many people want to jump on board something like that. And everybody has their different areas of expertise that they can bring to that mix, and they can support each other during a time of crisis or a time of difficulty. And yet I'm not really talking about that subject because I've already talked about that subject in another video recently. And I think it was called Create Your Own Advocacy Group or something like that. But this one is really about how often older people are lonely. They don't have anyone that calls them. They don't have anyone that checks in. And they feel isolated. They feel alone. And many of them can't drive anymore for one reason or another. And it's not because they don't have their mind, but maybe they have some physical limitations. Or maybe they're just a little bit fearful of being out on that highway by themselves. And, the world is a crazy place now. And older people as well as younger people can be significantly more vulnerable than the average person somewhere in between. And so I think it's important that older people connect. They connect with positive support groups, whether it's church groups, whether it's social groups, whether it's volunteer groups, that they connect outward with groups of people that are positive oriented and make as many connections, positive connections as they can, while at the same time avoiding negative connections such as scams or people that might prey upon their loneliness. A lot of people, I was talking to one friend today and she said there's so many scams out there that prey on the elderly or the younger people and older people. The scam artists are really, really hot and heavy out there. And so people have to be aware of that. And that can be in person, or it can be virtual, or it can be online. So you have to be aware. And so when you're isolated and lonely, it puts you in a vulnerable position. It puts you in a position of like, well, I'm so lonely. I'll talk to this person even though I really shouldn't. And maybe it's a scam. Maybe it's a scam person. And so older people have to be very aware. And that's why it's important to build people into your life that you trust. And sometimes you don't know who to trust. So you have to be very mindful of how you trust, when you trust, and how it takes time to build trust. In the meantime, you develop a support group that of friends and people that you can talk to, and often those people are in your own age group, are dealing with the same kinds of issues, and you can be support to each other. Loneliness is a very difficult thing at any age. I know younger people who are lonely, who experience loneliness. The important thing is, whatever your age group is to connect outward with positive groups that are doing positive things, so that you can build relationships. You may not build a relationship with everyone in that group, but if you keep going back time and time again, you are likely to build a relationship at least with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people. And it takes time to build relationships. It takes consistency. It takes going back. But you want to make sure it's the right kind of group for you, something that you're interested in. It's important to let the right people know that, you're kind of by yourself, but you want advocates in your life, so people can't just step in and take advantage of your life either. It's good to have people that can see what maybe you're missing in life, and, they can point things out. And yet the loneliness part is difficult. And so if you know a lonely older person or a younger person, you might want to think about giving them a call and just saying, hey, I just thought I would give you a call. I have several older people that I call on a regular basis, and I talk to them and I say, hey, how you doing? And often they'll talk about how lonely they are, and I'll listen to them. And their complaints, if you want to call it, are very valid. They're not made up. They're just simply not old people that want to complain. I mean, these are valid complaints. And so for people who are a bit younger than that, who are not lonely, it's important to continue to build your support base, your support system, so that you're never in that kind of position. So for me, I have a family, and yet I also build a lot of friends into my support base, and I have groups that I go to, all kinds of different groups that I go to, but they're all positive oriented. And so, but loneliness can be a part of old age, but it doesn't have to be. If you can get out there and connect with people in some way, in a positive way, in a safe way, often you can make new friends and build new relationships where you don't feel so isolated. Okay? From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.